Well, hello and welcome to Yellow Flag FPL, the podcast where all of our opinions should be yellow flagged. My name is Harry.
And I'm Stephen Berry.
And we're in yet another international break, Stephen, just when we were getting into the swing of things with plenty of exciting games going on in game week 11. But another international break with some breathtaking games against Albania and Serbia. Did you catch those, Stephen?
I did indeed, for my sins. Look, England comfortably through. Annoyingly, England have been comfortably through qualifiers before. But of course, we
Yeah.
can't not mention Ireland, Mr. Parrott.
Of
Don't
course.
know who he plays for, but every single person wants to sign him up immediately, even though I'm pretty sure he plays in League One or something. I've seen like
No, it's
Villarreal.
PSV.
That's PSV.
He plays for PSV.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough then. That's pretty good.
Which I guess, if we want to be really insulting to the Dutch, is like playing in League One.
True.
But ex Spurs legend, I should
Yes.
say as well. He got into a bit of trouble. He fell in with the wrong crowd, I think, and liked a bit of the Jack Grealish lifestyle, shall we say?
I see.
So yeah, but really happy for him. Really happy for the Republic of Ireland. Obviously, shame for people like, Szoboszlai and Kirkes. Szoboszlai, I saw a very funny tweet. Now, the best player they've had all season at Liverpool is going to come back thoroughly depressed.
Yeah.
Which is very true. But great to see. Great to see. Ireland being in the World Cup can only make the competition better, right?
Yeah, well, they're not there yet. They've now got into the qualifiers.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I would agree, and in America as well. Ireland qualifying for the American World Cup would be something.
Yeah, lots of Irish people there. But it's not the World Cup we're going to be talking about in this podcast. It's going to be another international competition, even if Jamie Carragher doesn't rate it. And that is the AFCON Cup of Nations, starting on the 17th of December and lasting until the 18th of January. And of course, with the new rule changes, all of us will be getting 5 free transfers.
So from an FPL perspective, it runs from game week 17 to game week 22. However, and that's actually just when football was being played, but because people get called up earlier, the 5 free transfers come in game week 16. So what's very, very important is you want to be going into game week 16 with 0 transfers, or 1, that's fine. But if you have 5 free transfers, you don't get 10. You get nothing, basically. So that's the thing to consider. It's not like you can't have 10, you can't have 8 or 9. You can only the cap is still 5 free transfers.
Have to use them.
Yeah,
sure. And if you use all, or let's say you use 4 and then you have 1, does it roll into 2 in game week 17?
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you have 1 transfer left going into game week 16, it'll be topped up with 4 to cap out at 5. So basically everyone, regardless of how many transfers they have from game week 15, will be starting on 5. So I mean, look, hey, if you're very happy with your team, they fine, keep them, but it would seem like a bit of a waste. I think one thing to as I think you've highlighted it very well, this is basically an additional free hit / wildcard. It's 5 transfers out of 15, so it's a third of your team, but obviously 4 don't start. So it's almost, basically half the team.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume that you're not going to change a goalkeeper for this. 5 outfield players out of 10, that's a lot. So yeah, you should basically, long story short, these next few games in particular is the time to be aggressive, especially as there's a few free hit potential weeks. Game week 13 being one. I think it's game week 15 actually being another potential free hit game week as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's actually interesting you mentioned goalkeepers because there isn't actually a single goalkeeper that plays for an African nation in the Premier League. So there we go. That's the first fun fact of this podcast. But yeah, just to summarise, you get your 5 transfers, game week 16, and then game week 17, if you haven't used them, they reset to 0.
No, you keep
it back up.
No, you have 5 free transfers, that's it. So you have 5 free transfers, and then you do with them whatever. So yeah, you don't have to use them in game week. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can.
Cool.
Yeah, you can hold on to them if you want to.
And of course, the number one thing, of course, is it doesn't have to be players that are going to AFCON. So that's why I think we're saying that you can use it quite aggressively. But more importantly, it means the next couple of weeks you can actually dead end your team a little bit and start bringing in players that maybe you wouldn't normally own. And so what we've done, and I'm going to make this my little spreadsheet publicly available for read only in case some people decide to take it over and trash it, because society is shit. Um, but yeah, we're going to make it. And I've listed all of the players that are going to be out until the likely destinations when those teams are likely to fall out of the various stages. But I think it's probably likely to say that most players that go to AFCON will be out until the last 16, which I plays between the 3rd and the 6th of January. And then we have an international break anyway, and we come back into game week 20, which is the 17th and 18th of January. But if you had any players in the semi-finals, let's say, that's in the middle of that week, so they're unlikely to be ready and playing by that weekend. So it's more likely that most of these players won't come back until, especially if they're in the semi-finals, they won't come back until game week 21, which is the 24th of January, I believe. Yeah. So I think, and of course, this assumes that they don't do a big bus parade back in their home countries and get so drunk they can't work out where the plane is to come home.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is definitely a possibility, given that we've got some very strong contenders in this year's AFCON and potentially some new winners as well. In all of the top 4, I believe, haven't won it since the 90s. But that was based on some very sketchy research on ChatGPT. But anyway, Stephen, you want us to talk about a few clubs that may be a bit in trouble, some to put on watch list per se.
Yeah.
And maybe vary some advice that we've given before.
Yeah, well, it's one club,
So,
and
yeah.
that's Sunderland. So Sunderland have a great. I must concede Barry was the one who saw there's 8 players going to AFCON. Kind of present, but Muke, the fullback, he's not played every week. But the big issue for them is their DM alongside Xhaka. He's been absolutely out. Sake, is that how you pronounce it? I'm not sure, but he's been outstanding basically. He's sort of not gotten as much credit as he deserves because he's been playing next to Granit Xhaka, who's probably been the signing of the season. Nevertheless, Sunderland are 4th or 5th, or wherever they are. Either way, doing very well in the Premier League. It's not just down to one man. He's been outstanding next to Xhaka. And as we've seen with teams, if your DM is bad or your DM is poor, yes, they're playing with 2. He's basically Xhaka's legs, essentially. He's allowing Xhaka to go forward. So, annoyingly, Sunderland, I think, are going to hit a bit of a wobble during that period. I think, additionally, their fixtures start to swing pretty aggressively against them as well. I think the Northeast Derby is also in that period. So, game week 16. So if they can, that's when the Northeast Derby is. They then have Chelsea at home, Man U away, Burnley, Palace, Leeds. So it's pretty mixed during AFCON, but it's also not brilliant either for them. But Bournemouth, Liverpool, Man City, like it starts to go pretty bad for them during the AFCON. The AFCON for them probably isn't ideally timed at all. So I've currently got triple Sunderland. I'm going to hold on to that for as long as I can, but I'm going to have to start probably getting rid of players. I won't sell Xhaka because I still think he's a DEFCON machine and everything like that. But Sunderland, not only are they think they're going to struggle during AFCON, given they have 8 players going, including 3 starters, they are probably going to get derailed. And I don't know, what are their ambitions now? I mean, if you ask any Sunderland fan, they would have said 17th. They would bite your hand off for 17th. I think that's probably going to come back into them. If they do go on a bit of a losing run and they're 9th, are they and the players going to push for Europe? Probably not. So I think, let's see. But it looks like AFCON could be actually pretty detrimental to Sunderland, both longer term and as FPL assets, I would say.
Yeah, so they've got Newcastle as their last game before they go off for their internationals. But I imagine there may be a case of not wanting to throw themselves into tackles as much, so they can still go on the plane and represent their countries. And after that,
I think I mean, obviously being from there, I think it's very, very difficult in that free-ball atmosphere not to get caught up with it. Every single Northeast Derby, despite the fact that hardly either team, hardly any player comes from either Newcastle or Sunderland, it's always the same. It's always very, very aggressive. So yeah, look, it could happen, but I think it's the first Premier League Northeast Derby in God knows how many years. It's going to be very, very hostile. The crowd will demand that, and I think that will. Let's see, but it's a fair point. But I think that the atmosphere is just going to be so tense. I think that will be different.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth mentioning as well other players that are going off. Ronaldo, who's been the first choice wing back for a while. His backup as well, Arthur Masayaku. Probably pronouncing that terribly. He's also potentially going. Ronaldo should be back because he's playing for Mozambique. No doubt he will play every minute for Mozambique. But they are statistically the second or third lowest ranked team in the competition. So it's unlikely they'll be there past the last 16, which I believe kicks off on the 3rd. Yeah, 3rd to the 6th of January. So it's probably, chances are he will be back probably in time for the Brentford away game, which is on the 7th of January. But of course, this depends on flight times. Maybe they go back and celebrate. We don't know. But I think given the disparities in the teams across the AFCON nations, it's unlikely you're going to get freak results like in the World Cup, where you have things like Costa Rica going through in Brazil 2010 or any of these other teams doing really well. Like the gulf is pretty bad between those players. Also, Adingra. I know he hasn't been a first choice, but he obviously he plays for Ivory Coast, I believe.
Yes.
And he is obviously, the Ivory Coast are very strong contenders. They won the competition, I believe, that they're the holders. So they should he should be starting. Tebele, he's a big miss for Sunderland. That he's again hasn't been starting every game, but it's been impressive when he's played for Sunderland. He's playing for Morocco, who are the favourites for the competition, and it is likely, based on just a bit of wargaming of the fixtures, it will be a Morocco-Senegal final, which will be a hell of a final. So I think he's probably one that you won't see. And Bertrand Traore. He's not a regular, but as a rotation player, he's obviously very useful for Sunderland, and I believe I think he plays Burkina Faso's Bertrand Traore. So they are, again, so they're 50-50 whether to progress into the last 16. It's probably between them and Equatorial Guinea in that group, so it depends on what comes out there. If they go through, worth mentioning, Bertrand Traore will be out, as well as Dango of Brentford. So lots of things to consider there. Is there any other teams that we should talk about in the Premier League that are worth mentioning? I mean, obviously, you're thinking, when we think of AFCON, we think of Salah, we think of maybe Ismail Assar. I think it is worth mentioning Senegalese players. A couple of them placed. We got Ismail Sarr, Ndiaye of Everton, and Guéhi of Everton. That would be quite a big loss for them. Perhaps Sarr of Spurs and potentially Doof of West Ham. Do you own any of those players? Obviously, would they be highly owned players?
I don't, but I think that's a problem for Everton. Ndiaye has been one of the better players this season, and losing their centre back as well. Although has he been starting? I don't remember him playing much this season. It's been Gardner. Branthwaite's also injured. He must have been starting. I'll clearly not be paying a lot of attention to Moyes Everton team. Shocker.
Oh, Gay's been one of their best players.
Yeah, he must I would say. Yeah, Branthwaite, because
he's got a few man of the matches. Yeah, but Gay's got a few man of the matches, and again, the same point you made about Siddiqui at Sunderland. Yeah. He's kind of like the player you don't notice until he's not there.
Yeah,
and I think that will be the key. Who they fill that void with. Number one, but number two, how it affects the other players in the team in terms of positioning and such. But yeah, I mean, I think that there is no other team in the league apart from Sunderland that is so badly affected by this.
I would say Everton are, based on that. I would say Everton. I don't worry about, because I think Man City have a few. They have Aït-Nouri who's going, but he doesn't start. Mamouche again isn't really starting. So no, I would say Sunderland are going to get pretty badly derailed from it. Everton only a little bit. It depends when Branthwaite comes back, I suppose. But yeah, that does make them. I think Sunderland in particular as well. I think if you want to take a bit of a risk, and I hate saying this, for game week 17, Sunderland, they have Brighton away.
They're Brighton away, and then Leeds at home.
That could be a time to start looking at them, because I don't think anyone's going to call that out as a difficult fixture. Then they have Leeds. So all of a sudden, Brighton, Leeds players, and then they've got City, Spurs. Yeah, I don't want to say Operation Target Sunderland during AFCON because it just pains me too much. But they are definitely.
Mhm.
I'm not going to have triple Sunderland basically pretty soon. That's the long and the short of it. Everton, maybe they become even more of a team to target, especially away from home, perhaps.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure, sure.
I think just the one thing on players, I wouldn't be worried about earning an Mbembo or a Sar at Palace because you get these 5 free transfers. So I would still, if you're considering bringing in a Mbembo this week, I would still do it because they've still got plenty of game weeks to go,
Mhm.
and again, you get these 5 free top ups. So, and
Yeah.
again, if you want to bring in Salah, if you can afford him, don't be put off too much by that. But I imagine Cameroon with Mbembo, they predicted to go pretty far.
Well, they're predicted to make it out of the group, yes, but they're not predicted to go that far
Okay,
or that deep into the competition. So I think that potentially it'll be a last 16 or quarterfinals.
okay.
So I think for Mbeumo, he probably will be back after the international break in January, unless, of course, Cameroon do something special.
There we go. So just quickly on if you've got any chips left. So if you have all 4 chips left, I mean, first of all, well done, I think. I'm not sure. But
Yeah,
you have game week 20 is when they all reset again. So you have 8 game weeks. And remember, you can't double chips to play 4 of them. So you're going to be playing a chip every 2 weeks. And you get these 5 free
yeah,
transfers. I'm not going to talk too much about that because I think anyone who has got all their chips left probably isn't playing. I think what probably is more likely is you've used your wild card and you've used one of either your bench boost or triple captain. Let's just do bench boost because I think that is unless you've got bench boost and free hit left, which coincidentally is what I have. First, so if you do free hit game week 17, there's nothing wrong with that. Sorry, game week 15, sorry. There's nothing wrong with that, but you end up losing that transfer because you can't free hit. Well, sorry, you can't transfer into that and free hit at the same time. You end up losing a transfer. So you probably want to target game week 13 for a free hit.
mm,
And then in terms of bench boosting, I think it's actually game week 14, which looks quite good. The problem with game week
yeah.
14 is unless you have lots of transfers, you're going to have to engineer it around. But I think it probably makes more sense if you can to try to aim for something after you get 5 free transfers because it just allows you to say use 4 or because let's be frank, how bad is your team going to be that you don't have that good of a bench? You probably only need 4 to get a good bench boost. And I think it's game week 17 or 18 looks pretty good for a bench boost. You've
Mhm.
got was it game week 18? I think it is. It's game week 18. Looks pretty tasty for a bench boost as well. I would say essentially just you need to be aggressive and this gives you a very very easy
Yeah.
way of doing a bench boost unless your team is absolutely terrible and you need 5 free transfers to basically get it into a wild card. You've got the 5 free transfers to build the perfect bench boost. You because I'm assuming you've got at least one extra player that you would like. You then use those 3 transfers even if it's just one game week. For example, like for Wolves under their new manager Rob Edwards, are they going to somehow be okay? I mean, I think they play Man U at home or something like that once. That
Unlikely.
that could be quite funny. You could bring in a Wolves player. So don't just think of it as like think of it as transfers for a bench piece, I would say, or for a triple captain. You could go completely rogue on a triple captain, for example. You could bring in, as I said, you could bring in a Wolves player or a Fulham player if you're that insane. But again, you're getting these wild. The key is you're getting these wild card again soon. You're getting 5 free transfers and then all the chips back, including a wild card. You can I would basically be looking at this as a very aggressive way of playing the game. I would be looking
Yeah.
to use all my transfers, but by game week 16, get those 3-5, and then start aggressively targeting some interesting fixtures. Triple Bournemouth, for example, when they're at home against Burnley. They're just look
Mhm.
at some games and think, okay, is there any shit playing shit? I think Leeds play Burnley, for example. Could you get in 2 Leeds players, for example? Stuff like that, I think you really need to
Yeah.
be looking at. Look at certain fixtures which you think are going to be differentials and target them aggressively, is what I would say.
Sure, sure. I think it'd be interesting to see how people would play if you did have all of those chips. I think so. For me, I only have the triple captain left,
Right.
which so I don't think I'm affected. But I think if you have a wild card, for example, it's probably now to play it because the 5 is
Yeah.
effectively under the wild card, and you're not going to do 5 transfers and then have to wild card 2 game weeks later. That'd be weird. So I would wild card now for a bench boost in the next couple of weeks, and then use the 5 if I was going to bench boost later,
Mm.
in order to gear up for that and free hits later. But yeah, I mean, I own roofs of Sunderland. I know we keep bouncing back to them, but should we be worried about owning defensive assets there, or is it Is it time to move them on, maybe in
I
preparation?
don't mind.
So, for example, would I use that? Would you recommend taking someone like a Roofs out of the team in these 5 free transfers on the basis that they're going to be less structurally sound because of the AFCON nations?
Too worried about Rose because he gets a lot of points because of how many saves he makes. So I think it's more likely to get saving points. I don't think it's going to increase defcons though. I think they're going to be more exposed. It's going to lead to more shots on target, which is better for Rose, but I don't think they're going to be clearing them and stuff like that. So I would say I'm happy to keep him because I think he'll make up with save points. Defenders, I think Sunderland's clean sheet capability is going to go down, especially because they've lost their DM. I think that's going to go down dramatically.
Yeah, sure.
And there won't be, and I think Rove's savings. You got to remember he can get multiple save points as well. He needs to make 3 saves to get those 2. Whereas if they get the defcons, that's it. It's done. He can make 6 saves, 9 saves, all that stuff. It's unlikely he's gonna make that many, but I just think I think it's a higher potential of him getting to saving points and therefore bonus points than there is for the defenders getting defcons. You got to remember if they're also going to concede, it means that the attacking team they're playing against is going to get more likely to get bonus points as well for both the goal scorer and the assist maker. So I would say Rove's ceiling is going to be higher when Sunderland are a bit more shaky.
Fair. Okay, cool. Well, I also wanted to just flag as well another team that we maybe should concern ourselves with, and that's Man United. Obviously, our advice recently has been attacking players are a maybe, defensively not. But De Ligt is still up there as one of the most transferred in players. I guess because he scored a goal, right? And points aren't going to chase themselves. But it's worth mentioning that Mazwari plays for Morocco. He got an assist in an international game recently as well, so he almost certainly will be there. Morocco are favourites to finish the competition as champions, which is great for them, but probably bad for Man United because it means he probably won't be back in time for that game on the 24th. And also, Ahmad, who has also been playing wing-back for them. So I think that it's worth telegraphing that Man United, and pause for laughter, might be worse defensively than they are today because they've lost those players. And Ahmad plays for Ivory Coast, which aren't favourites to get to the semis, but Ivory Coast is still a good team. They've got plenty of good players, plenty of talent in there, so they will be competitive. Also, interesting mention. Sorry, you go.
I was just going to say before you go on to that, can you explain to me the panic around Gabriel? He's got a groin He's got a groin injury, so he'll miss the North London derby. But even if you think he's going to be out for 2 or 3 game weeks, I don't understand. Like, why? Okay, people have gone for Van Dijk or gone for De Ligt. And I'm scrolling on the defenders now. Scrolling. Nope, he's not on that page. I'll have to go to page 2 to see before I can find either of them. Hold on. Scrolling. Okay, over to page 3. There's Virgil. So Virgil is, God knows what, 20-something for points in defenders? Like, okay, I know they've got a fixture swing, but he's still 5.9 million. That's quite a lot. Well, I mean, if you really want Liverpool defenders, surely you would go for one of the cheaper ones like a Konate. I don't see how he's going to do that well. And then De Ligt. I don't think my finger can handle this much scrolling. He's not. Oh, there he is. He's 5 million as well. Why? I know they've got a fixture swing. Okay, Van Dijk is a bit more because Liverpool's fixtures are nicer, but De Ligt, really? Man, no, man, you cannot keep a clean sheet to save their lives. He got one very nice goal at the last minute. What is going on?
He's done it again, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about a completely different team. He's brought up Arsenal in some way, shape, or form. Gabriel, of course, being Brazilian and not being related to AFCON in any way, shape, or form. But I understand what you're saying. That maybe there is that obvious move from Gabriel to De Ligt. But we can talk about the other transfer options if you were thinking about that a bit later. But yes, I think a lot of players people were looking at Bremo. Obviously, he's not going to be able because he's going to be with Cameroon. We've then got various other players missing. Bassey of Fulham and Iwobi of Fulham as well. 2 big players for them. And as you said in the last podcast, they are slowly and quietly stinking up the league.
Bassey's probably one of the better players as well. He's got an error in him, but he's probably one of the. Anawobi, oh god.
Yeah, he's a presence. He's a presence in their team, I think, and so I think that'd be interesting. They both play for Nigeria. Nigeria is forecast to be into the semis, so that could be a real miss for them. Also worth mentioning, Democratic Republic of Congo. We've already talked about Sadiki of Sunderland, but then you've also got to think about Wissa. If he's fit, he's probably going to go. Wan-Bissaka of West Ham, he's probably going to go. And again, those guys, they're likely to get through to the last 16, unlikely to get through to the semi-finals, and therefore be a problem for the game week 20. But they did just beat Nigeria in an international friendly. So again, and Nigeria being favourites to go through to the semis, it shows that there are a few kinks in the international pyramid of African nations that could lead to that potential outcome. And one other player I want to talk about is Out-Nouri of Man City. I know he's not been a starter recently, but of course, he's an important player. It maybe secures O'Reilly's spot a bit more. And he seems to be quite a transferring player. It seems like Thomas Tuchel really likes him as well, which is great to see. And Algeria are again one of the teams that are likely to get round to the semi-finals and potentially even the final. But I think they'd have to see off Senegal to do that, which would be difficult, seeing as Senegal are a very good team. Although Brazil beat them 2-0, I did see that. That was a pretty impressive result. And Egypt, of course, Salah, Mamouche. Mamouche starts to get back into the team. So again, does him not being there sort of free up Pep to play Foden, Shirky, and it gives FPL players a bit more kind of confidence that those players are going to start. Salah, I think most people have come off now, unless you're in ghost teams or have faded hope or are jaded Liverpool fans. But again, Egypt have an outside chance of making the semi-finals. They definitely can do it. Got game winners in their team. But it seems unlikely, and it seems that they might be back in time for that game week 20. So, Stephen, a couple of those players in there quite interesting. How do you think it's going to affect those teams concerned? Does it make some players more interesting, some less?
I think you've hit the nail on the head.
I
think you've hit the nail on the head there. That from an FPL perspective, lots of players become a lot more interesting. Foden is a very good one, and Cherki at Man City, because a big person who you'll be worried about rotating with is gone. O'Reilly is the same. For Man U, and I still think they're okay, fine attackingly, that does mean Mount, Sesko, one of them's going to take Mbembo's place. If Mazraoui, he's going to be their right back, actually. If Diallo and Mazraoui are gone.
Probably Dorgu.
Okay. So he's probably quite cheap on the game. But again, I don't really like Man U players. But I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. It's like, if one of their key men is going for a long time, who's going to take their place? I have absolutely no idea who West Ham's backup left back is, but backup right back is. But yeah, again, we're talking about earlier about you've got 5 free transfers. If you've got chips, it might be worth a bit of a punt. I imagine West Ham's backup right back is 4 million in the game. West Ham, I think, actually have a decent run during the AFCON. It could be a bit of fun. You've got 5 transfers. If you've got chips as well, why not? But I think the ones probably to look at, I hate to say it, would be a Mount or a Sesko. One of them is going to take, or does Cunha then get the number 9? Yeah, and also Cunha's the number 9? I don't know.
Cunha, Does Cunha become the talisman? Does Bruno go further forward? That's another good option, potentially for them. They could shift that up and put him into a 3. Obviously, Casemiro, he did have a knock at Spurs, but he seemed to shake that off and got an assist for Brazil. Again, proving to be a bit like fine wine, to be honest. So Bruno could push up and they could go to a 4. I know that he said consistently.
That's never going to. Why would he? He would never do that. He's played Bruno Fernandes as a DM all season. He's now the more people say to him, don't do something, he's like, well, I'm going to double down and do more of it. So no, it'll be either Sesko as a number 9 or Mount as the false 9 or Cunha and him as 10. But no. Fernandes will be staying where he is. Even though he got a hat-trick at the weekend against the mighty Armenians.
Yeah, hat-trick and an assist. It's worth mentioning as well that Sesko did get injured at Spurs, and it was so bad that he had to come off, and then we played against 10 men for the last sort of 10, 15 minutes. So it could be there even out with him. So you could be seeing a front three of Mount, Cunha, and Bruno. It'd be quite a nice change, and I think it would make Bruno more attractive because that is where his best position is, in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's very interesting for Man United, and I guess for Fulham, we did mention before that it potentially could be an operation target Fulham as they start to, slowly but surely slip into relegation battle. Yeah, does it make that more appealing now to target them? And if so, would you be moving on Fulham players if you owned?
Yes, I mean, if you have any Fulham players, I mean, unless you just need someone cheap on your bench, get rid of them. Operation target Fulham. Apart from, again, maybe they have Dr. Tottenham. That's the only. Oh, it would be like that free hit that everyone. If I free hit in 13, triple Fulham, hoping for the ultimate Dr. Tottenham, it could happen. No, but no, I target Fulham players. Really, really target Fulham players pretty aggressively. Unless it's free hit 13 and you want to see and you believe in Dr. Tottenham's infinite powers, which hey have proven powerful over the years. But no, I would say keep targeting Fulham, and this just really reinforces that.
Cool, cool. And Liverpool as well. Without Salah, I know he hasn't had his best season, but he's very much a talisman player for that team. He does give defenders the chills, and I'm sure nightmares when they go to bed the next night. For Liverpool, potentially, could we choose to see a change of system, and would that make other players more interesting?
Well, we've forgotten something. Frimpong will play that. So before a ball was kicked, Slot spoke very highly, so not very highly, spoke a lot around saying Frimpong will be my right wing with Salah at AFCON. And now, given Frimpong hasn't played a lot and has really fallen out of favour, is that still the case? Does it? Yeah. It might mean that Gapco probably gets more games as Verts go out there.
Yeah.
But I keep an eye on that one. If he starts right wing, he's probably worth a punt because Liverpool's fixtures are very nice around that time period.
Yeah.
If he starts right wing, I'd be looking to get him in immediately. Basically,
yeah.
I think and I think that'd be actually quite a good move for him and the team. He's been kept out of the team because he can't defend. It didn't keep Trent out of the team, but anyway, we move on from that. So, but nevertheless, I think he was originally before a ball was kicked going to be the right wing option. Has that changed given his defensive performance? I don't know, but that was the plan.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be very interesting. So he's 5.8, 5.9 now. And if he gets clean sheet and a goal, and he also played in that forward line in the Community Shield and scored as well. So I think that there's a good chance that he will play there. But yeah, I think it definitely adds a level to Liverpool's game to have someone slightly interesting, slightly different there, and maybe that's the sort of freshness they need to keep up in the title race. Another team to mention, Nottingham Forest. They've got Aina going to Nigeria, as I mentioned, but they've also got Sangra, who many FPL players won't know.
Yeah.
But he is their starting CDM under Dyche. He's going to the Ivory Coast, who will go deep into the competition, as will Nigeria. If Aina's fit, he probably will go to play. If he's not, I imagine he'll join them later on in the competition, because he is just a quality wing back. So, I mean, obviously, we know what Dyche is like. He will definitely set up teams to be really hard to beat. Does that make, any Notts Forest players a challenge for you? Or does it mean that we could get some interesting positionings for different players? Maybe Elliot Anderson drops deeper, so then it's more likely to get DEFCONs, although he's been a DEFCON monster. What does it kind of mean for Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, I think that's probably all to say on them. I think you're right. Dyche is going to set up a team that's hard to beat, but Sanger, he's a very good player. Well, Nottingham Forest got him. It was a bit of a coup. People like Villa, I think even Arsenal were rumoured to get him, and he's another unsung hero in the Premier League. But at the same, I mean, if let's say Poch was not Poch, sorry, if Ange was still there, then I'd be like, well, Nottingham Forest is going to concede 20 goals a week. But yeah, you're probably right. Elliot Anderson should be able to cover that. No, I'd say Sunderland and Everton are the real worrying teams. I think they're going to be derailed. And I think Man U and Liverpool have players who are going to come in who are going to be interesting. And I think there's lots of opportunity there. Oh, God, I'm talking about Man U, bringing Man U players too much. This is horrible. This is the worst podcast.
You can have a cold shower after this. No worries,
Yeah,
mate.
this is the worst podcast I've ever done, and that's saying something.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Cool. And then the final team I really wanted to mention that I think might be in a bit more trouble than they already are is West Ham. Obviously, I mentioned the two players who are going to be going off. Diouf of Senegal, who, as I said, are likely to make the final, and Democratic Republic of Congo. Wan-Bissaka, again, likely to go deep into the competition. Maybe not the quarterfinals or semis, so could be back in time. But losing those sort of level of defenders who are arguably better players in their team, and in such key positions. And I've read somewhere that Potts, the CM that we talked about and gave, Freddie Potts, that is, rave reviews for sort of unleashing the rest of the mighty West
did
Ham's
not do
attack.
This. You.
Okay, I did this. I did this. But I predicted Paquetá would do well last week, and he was, and he got an assist, got 4 points, although he got a yellow card, typically is now suspended. But for players owning those sorts of guys, anyone that's going to make sort of attacking runs, I mean, it surely makes Nuno's job even harder, right?
Yes. I mean, but again, he has annoyingly seems to have turned it around. I'm still not 100% positive on him/them. They've got Bournemouth away next. Liverpool at home. I think the honeymoon, if it ever started, but West Man U away is going to hit them pretty hard. Oh, actually, God, their runs going into AFCON are terrible. They've got Villa
It's
away.
really bad. It's
Yeah,
really
man.
bad.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, look, winning is a habit. And if I agree with you that Nuno is starting to show some real positive signs for the team, and it seemed like they could potentially turn it around. But with this terrible run combined with AFCON, I think we're going to have a situation where they will still be in the relegation zone at the end of AFCON, and there will be some unrest because West Ham fans are generally unruly, and their expectations are way out of kilter for what their team can achieve. And it seems to me that this couldn't come at a worse time for them, because if they started to build some momentum, get some head of steam, then they would be a really difficult team to play at home, as I said a couple of game weeks ago. So I think on the basis of gut feel from my side, which is always the best thing to follow in FPL, and all the things we like to do in this podcast, I think West Ham could be in real trouble the next couple of weeks. And as a result, I think go for them really hard.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned Semenyo could be your captain, but he has actually picked up a knock on international duty as well. Which brings us nicely into, I mean, we've talked a lot about AFCON there, but it brings us nicely into some injuries and stuff like that. But before we do that, before we go and sort of give any recommendations for those positions and players that have been injured, is there any other teams you want to mention?
No, fair. I think excellent summary from you. Very comprehensive. No, good work, I'd say.
Fantastic. Brighton and Arsenal are the only team that I've found, I think, that have not got an African player in their squad, or that's playing in AFCON. Minter's from Gambia, and Gambia aren't going. So yeah, some real issues there. Ismail Sarr of Crystal Palace, I guess, worth mentioning, but that's only one player, and Crystal Palace got a pretty good depth of talent and a great manager. So I think they'll be fine.
I think Kameda would come in for him. Maybe Pino would do the other role, but like he's been playing this alongside him and he's done nothing. So I think
for Crystal Palace. I think for Crystal Palace, they have such a breadth of talent, and they also have such a good manager. It actually opens up more doors for more exciting possibilities. And I think what I would probably be looking at over the next couple of weeks is who does come in for Sarr, and if there are players that are going to play in that position, or maybe he changes formation a little bit, and Kamada plays a bit further forward. I mean, he can't be more than 5.5, and that becomes a really interesting option, really low owned, and again, one of those players you could put on a watch list for that 5 free transfers. But yeah, those summarise my thoughts on that. So yes, 6 players I want to highlight that have been injured. I mentioned Freddie Potts and the reasons why that's important. Rodgers seemed to pick up a little knock, but as I said last week, Villa probably you're not investing in. Perhaps Sarr, he's got injured on international duty. Again, not many players own him. You did for a time. Do you still own him?
he lost his place. He was actually doing okay for me, but then he lost his place, unfortunately. So, yeah,
Fair enough.
Semenyo is a painful one.
Semenyo
He's
is a
now
big one,
lost
yeah.
the armband. I'm going to give it to either Sarr or Mateta, who are at Wolves. I really,
Hmm.
really hate new manager bounce, and that's really annoying. I mean, but
Yeah,
so Semenyo was just it was a cut and dry one for me. I
yeah.
probably will do Mateta. If I'm feeling very rogue, Timber or Saka, but I'll probably keep to Mateta, I think.
So it seems to me that there was a twist. So what the report is with Semenyo, there was a twist of the anterior ligament between the ankle and tibia bones on the left foot. The injury was worsened during a match against Japan, and Semenyo was also substituted at the 55th minute. And that was the official statement from the Ghana national team. So there's lots of complicated medical words. They don't sound great. It could be a long time out. And maybe the punt you were talking about of going to Wemo is it's the right time to do it now because you have that 5 transfers,
Yeah.
banked up. And then you might have to sort of, hold your nose and own a Man United player, mate.
Yeah. Did Ghana not
The
qualify for
option.
AFCON?
No.
Oh wow! Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So because they have Kudus
Yeah.
as well, and they didn't qualify. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's missing. Cool. And also just to add to Fulham's woes, Muniz, he came
Yeah.
on for
ACL, right?
15
Isn't it?
seconds against Everton.
Yeah.
Not ACL, but I think he was coming back from a big injury. And I think that he just doesn't feel right. And when you got Raul Jimenez up top, who I love, FPL hero, Wolves legend, obviously a great player, but it does mean again any more confidence you need about owning players that are playing against Fulham, particularly defenders, I think can be increased. And then finally, you already shoehorned him into a conversation about a completely different team, but Gabriel, what are your Arsenal sources telling us? Is he out for a long time? Is it a short time? He's yellow flagged at the moment.
Looking like a couple of weeks. I think if you've got some transfers and you're looking for a bit of a punt, I wouldn't sell him yet. I'd hold on, people have jump ship already. I'm gonna try to predict Arteta. I mean, technically it'd be Hinakapi, who's meant to be the like-for-like replacement. He's played in the Champions League. I don't think giving him his first minutes in the North London derby is what he's going to do. I imagine Calafiore will move to left centre back, and Miles Lewis Skelly will come in at left back. Is what my guess is, and I imagine Miles Lewis Skelly's value would have plummeted from the start of the season. Yeah, he's down to 5.1 million. So Arsenal haven't got the best run, and I think Gabriel's going to be back. But if you've got some transfers to burn and fancy a nice punt, Miles Lewis Skelly is one of them.
Well, I was going to actually start next week with a back 4, which included Gabriel, even though he's playing my team. And it looks like I'm going to have to at least start Kudus, even though I don't think he's going to play. Or I could even start Esteve. He's got Chelsea at home.
So you have been inconsistent,
Yeah, but so I've actually got a middle of an injury crisis with 4 players injured, and only 1 transfer to do anything about it. But yeah, so we'll be watching and waiting for the team news. And as you said, Stephen, at the end of last pod, don't make early transfers. Wait for those pressers, and think about where the players have come from. Because obviously Brazil played Senegal, but they did that in North London, so he's not going to have a big journey back. But if they've played in Paraguay or South Africa or somewhere mental like that, they're probably not going to be playing or starting at 12:30 on Saturday.
Yeah.
Just isn't going to happen. Cool. I think that wraps it up for this special, I would suggest, on AFCON. And we've given the competition a really nice spotlight. And actually, do you know what? It's made me want to watch the competition because it looks like there could be some really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, Hannibal, who plays for Burnley, he plays for Burnley. He's a long-haired chap.
But his country's Morocco, isn't it?
Isn't he? No, it's Tunis.
Oh, Tunis, yeah.
Tunis. So it's Tunisia. But obviously, and their favourites to get out of their group and not go further. But it'd be interesting to see him play a bit more because he's not played for Burnley that much since he's come back, since they've got promoted from the Championship. Obviously, I mentioned before, but Burkina Faso have got Dango Atara from Brentford and Burton Traore. They are 50-50 whether to go through. But then equally, you've got teams like Comoros. who I couldn't even place on a map, who are 400 to 1
to
get out of the group. So there could be some absolutely crazy games against them. Marley as well, which has Basuma if he's injury free. Again, likely to get out of the group. So there could be some really, really interesting games. So I'll be trying to watch them wherever I can. I think we all should too as well, to see how our players get on. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for this week. Again, don't make early transfers. Thank you for listening and watching. Please give us a like and subscribe wherever you get this podcast, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.